Hey traders, welcome back. Mike Fairborn here for Trading with ThinkScript. Good to have you all on board, folks. Today I've been looking a lot at the markets and actually over the last couple of weeks, and we've just been seeing a lot of momentum pushes, if you've noticed that. Taking that concept in mind, keeping that concept in mind and looking at moves to the upside, to the downside very quickly, I wanted to talk about a ThinkScript that we can develop right here in class to help us on that momentum end with short-term trading signals potentially, examples of those. I want to go through and highlight that for you and show you what that looks like. We're going to take a little bit of a longer term, but then narrow that down to some of those intraday time frames, and we'll just see what that looks like on some of those entry and exit points in this example setup. So we'll dive into that in just a moment. I would like to welcome all of you here today. Some familiar names. John the Noble Savage is here with us. Awesome. Great to have you here, John, as well as Roger, David. Good to see David again, as well as Kelly and Will. Welcome to you guys, as well as Michael and others that are showing up in our session here, folks. Any questions, comments you have, throw those in the chat, because we are lucky to have here Connie Hill in the chat, very knowledgeable on this topic. I really appreciate Connie covering for me last week for this class. Had some great concepts that she developed here. And, you can take a look at that class. It was last week's class, specifically with the hold and below. It's stuff that I'd never seen before. Fantastic and interesting. Folks, you can follow us both on X, my handle, Connie's handle, Connie Hill CS. That's for Charles Schwab, Mike Fairborn, CS as well. But any questions, comments you have, welcome those in the chat. I have had some pretty cool topic requests come in, and I do try to keep tabs on those. In fact, I've shown stuff from David and others here, Robert, as well as others that you guys have developed. So always great to have that feedback here with you guys. All right, well, let's do this. Let's dive into some disclosures to get going here. Information here is for general information purposes only, and so too is the paper money software application that we're going to be utilizing here today. Investing involves risk, including for some products more than your initial investment. Past performance of any security strategy does not guarantee future results or success. A quick look at our futures disclosures down below. Again, we do not trade futures in this class, but we will reference those charts from time to time, and we've done that in this class, definitely, for sure. All right, that is it on our disclosures. Well, you guys, to start things off, let's do this. Let's do a quick look at the markets, just a really quick glance at the markets, S&P 500 index. I had mentioned a lot of times you guys are more, some of you do coding here. You don't have to do coding to be in this class. We have other things we can do, just like today, where we're going to build a code without coding, without having that knowledge, but still getting the job done in our key discussion. But we do talk about some advanced concepts, and one of them we've talked about here is in these other classes too, is when that apex of the triangle it does hit. Sometimes you'll get a move up or down, regardless of where the price is at. When those two lines converge, it's an interesting sort of dynamic that can happen. Sometimes it was right around that 7,000. We decided to pull back, so it's going to be interesting to see if we begin to trend lower here or if we kind of stay in check. Boy, my lines are going lower too. Let's try that again. There we go. All right. And there you go. So I'm just curious to see, what we get here. Remember, what's been driving so much of what we do and what is heavily, heavily weighted in the market, folks, is technology. And watching tech could be a real key point. Now, what's funny here is we did get a high in tech, a higher high, right? Or right, just very close to it. And you could say a lower low over this range, short term, of course. And, on a big scale, it's a very short term lower low, but it's more of a sideways channel. You have to say right now, we did just make a very similar high, possibly a higher high up top. So we'll see how technology kicks into gear over here. In fact, what I'm going to do, there is the Mag 7 list that I do like to highlight here, where I do just point out, if you add them all together, boom, you can create your own Mag 7, and it dipped too. It's a big mover in the NASDAQ. It's a big mover in the S&P 500. Park that in the back of your mind and just keep tabs on this too, around any sort of ThinkScripting or just trading in general that you might be looking at in the market. Now, folks, there were some new releases that came out for 2026. Maybe you guys may have seen them. I'm just going to direct you to this page. If you haven't, I'm just going to throw this over into the chat real quick so you got it all. And welcome to you guys just joining us here. Good to have you on board, but that's where you're going to get the new releases. I just sent you that URL in the chat. And a couple I wanted to highlight here. Yes, there's an auto send warning now There is some additional information on analyzing fundamentals. In fact, I hit that last week. I want to show you just a couple of other developments that are interesting here, super quick, just in case you haven't seen them. But I think it can be really helpful and useful in this class. By the way, yeah, there are, study alert dialogue enhancements. As you can see over here, we can set alerts, and that would be sounds and play sounds down below. Always a very important area to go if you are in the process of setting alerts. I mean, there's other alerts down below here just to be mindful of, and you can see that there are different sounds that can be played. Of course, there is that mobile alert too, that you can see right there. Now, scooting on down, that is new. This is okay. We have so this goes on. It's a little bit longer. Keep it in mind. But then we also have this too, which is great. I'll just show you this right on the screen. If you haven't seen it, I think many of you already have, but just in case, now you can go up here under Setup, click on Application Settings, and you can see all of the accounts you've got. And I've got a load of them on my, like an actual account, and many of you do. And if you want to go in here, you can see what your trading features are, and what your different levels are, what you might be qualified for in your account. If you click here, it will simply take you to a page where you can go and try to, apply for higher levels or whatever it is you want. But a great way to see what you've got. Beautiful overview. It used to be a lot longer than this, believe me, before the process. But that is now there, general, and then you can see it right there under accounts. And last but not least, oh, by the way, down below here, additional information in terms of potentially moving money and a few other things. But yeah, so there was some bugs worked out as well. But just wanted to highlight that for you real quick, just so you had it. And those are part of the platform. That is the newest release that we just had. So, all right, with that, here is that big long symbol. All you got to do is put the plus sign in there if you wanted to create like a Mag 7 or whatever the case might be. All right, well, with that, I wanted to talk about a few different things. And hello to you, Mighty Mouse, joining us. We've got Riceberg, Eric, Austin, and others here, Life of the Fast Lane. Great to have you folks on board. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to go over here, and I want to take a look at, generally when we're looking at stocks, in many, many cases, we are looking, for prices movement to the upside, right? Trends, in other words. If we're bullish, movements to the upside. But with that, we have to be really, really mindful. If we were to look at something like a GC chart, gold, just like referencing the chart, you'll notice over here that, my gosh, this has really been ramping up for quite some time. In fact, you can just look over here and say, yeah, there was a little bit of a trend here. The trend line actually expanded a little bit here. I'm just looking at the slopes, and my gosh, look at that. Boom, massive volatility, right? The slopes of these lines are increasing. Now, what you'll get with that oftentimes is momentum, but it's really, really tricky to look at any chart. This is just an example, just using gold as an example. But I mean, trying to get into something when it's day after day after day higher, sometimes, folks, you have to shift to that shorter term time frame, but you still want a longer term trend up. And so what I want to talk about today is tapping into that with a really good indicator to help us with this, one you've heard before, but we're going to be utilizing it on a shorter term time frame, and we're going to be using it across the S&P 500 on those companies. Like I said, we don't trade futures in this class, but we do use the charts from time to time. Okay. Oh, by the way, another quick note. I have to bring this up because it is notable in terms of a disclosure for our alerts. And I did mention alerts previously. Alerts, just so you know, like those alerts that are delivered mobile, etc. They're not guaranteed to be delivered with any specific speed or time frame. Should not be used as a replacement for actively being aware of your positions. All right. Yeah, just wanted to make sure we got that down because I haven't had any issues with them, but hey, they just want to let you know that. All right. So let's do this. Looking at timeframes here, when you're seeing strength of the upside and the downside, both, when it is quick like this, opportunities can pass us up very, very quickly based upon the speed of that chart on a day-to-day time frame. But looking at something even as short as a 30-minute chart, you can see much, much more detail as to what's going on behind the scenes. In fact, what you didn't see at all on a daily chart here with the SPX, and what you do see short term, all right, wow, flag pattern, bear flag, because prices are in fact going down right? They're going lower and it's been flagging to the downside. Will it happen again or will it turn? That's a real good question. But there are even price patterns we could see just by giving us a little bit more data to view. All right. So one of the concepts I wanted to look at is when we go into our scan tab here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you over here. We're going to go through the process of building this guy up right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one that I've already built, and I'm just going to detach it because I'm going to use it in just a sec. But I'll pull it back down here, and we'll scan that guy, and we're good and ready to go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this guy out up top, and we're going to start fresh here. Now, I am starting in the scan tab, folks. We are right at the stock hacker. Got to be there. And it can be very, very important to what you're seeking out, what we're looking in, what basket of stocks are we at? S&P 500, I'm getting that right out the public folder, and you can really knock yourself out if you wanted to. Russell 2000, Russell 100, 1000, and 3000. One of them has, I think, every one of the S&P 500 stocks in it, plus large cap companies, or a huge number of them. But anyways, some good choices up top, just in terms of easy baskets to create. Next thing, add that filter. This is going to be so easy and simple to do. We're going to do it right in the class. But what I wanted to talk about as we get into this, I'm just going to back up real quick on just one little item here. And that's this. Let's go into it. Oh, it's not going to let me do that. There we go. Okay, good. Now it will. So when we're looking at the MACD2 line, and we're talking about it. Now, there are other MACDs out there. In fact, I'm going to go over here. We'll start with the daily. I think it's very common on a daily to use, much more common than intraday. But there we go. Now, the intraday or shorter term, like we said, can be very useful when volatility begins to spike. And the last thing I'll state here, the VIX. Where's that 20 level? Ooh, we've been tempting that 20 quite a bit. When you get above 20, sometimes you get some pretty big moves over here. Okay. So we do have reason to believe that there could be volatility, increasing for sure. We're even seeing it in the VIX. Size of these bars as well. Okay. So with the MACD itself, what makes it unique and interesting is it is a signal type amplification. It amplifies the signal, does the MACD. It does so, and it's broken down into the way that I like to do it is I like to simplify it into its basic form. And that, folks, is the MACD2 line, the 2 line, which is made up of really the value line, referred to as the value line, and that is the convergence divergence of these 2 lines, the 12 and the 26 exponential moving averages. Are they converging? Or are they diverging? In other words, are prices, if it's expanding, then what's happening is the 12 is outpacing the 26. You see it? It's right there. It's right there in front of us. That basically is momentum. I've seen it abbreviated like this before, but MOM, it is momentum. Okay? If there is a divergence between those 2 lines, upside or downside, you can see it over here on this 6-month chart on the SPX, you could see that this really started to dip quickly. That blue line right there, or that cyan line, whatever, that greenish line, that began to dip. And when it dipped sharply, the 12 was outpacing the 26 EMA. In other words, look how quick it was. It was fast to the downside. It's very sensitive to momentum. Now, you're going to notice the other line in here. I'll flip to illustrate that one. But yeah, we've got this down here. Well, over here too. Yeah. You can see it up top. You can see it down below. But down below, it does make a cross right there. And it makes an important cross. And what that signifies is that the average of that 1226 is a 9 moving average. And it just says, so it's very close. It's like almost like putting like a 10-period moving average, a little bit quicker than that, on that 2 line and saying, we're beginning to break up above that level. Okay. Now there's one other key thing, but it's very sensitive, right? But there's another key element here. And what we're looking at are for possibly bigger moves with, folks, the trend. Trend is up over here on a daily chart. So daily trend up. This helps us avoid some whipsaws if the trend is up. Down here, though, one other thing with the MACD that's so critically important too is you've got a zero line. Okay, that zero line, folks, right there. And we've got a way to work with that zero line as well. I want that crossover to happen below the zero line. We're going to take all this information, the daily upward trend, but we want to see this happening. We can take it, we'll take a look at it on a daily chart. It's a very easy thing to do. But I also want to look at it on a 30-minute chart, because if in fact we do get some movement to the downside here, prices begin to come down, we're going to be able to spot this instantly with ThinkScript, and we can have it pop up a scan on the S&P 500 immediately with companies that have broken below, let's say, a downward trend. That downward trend, maybe the 50-period moving average, the 100, the 200, whatever the case might be. I want to look at some trade examples in that group today. All right. So that's what we've got in store. And let's see. Howdy from Dallas as well. Howdy back to you, sir. All right. Well, let's get going on that. I'm going to jump right into my scan tab here, and I'm going to start developing this right now. That's actually the full S&P. I mean, what do we got? Oh, sorry. We're going to go in here. So I've got to erase this. What I want to do first is, once I'm in the S&P, I'm going to go right over here to the add filter. So again, scan tab, stock hacker for the sub tab, and we're looking in the S&P today. We're going to add this filter in. We're going to go to a study right now. I'm going to quickly just click on the pencil to open this guy up right now. All right. And what we're going to do is delete what we've got. And let's just start with a basic condition. And really what that's going to be, as we go through this, is we're going to look initially at our study. And like I said, you guys, there are a number of MACDs in here there's a lot of different stuff going on. I use the basic 2-line. I want the core MACD, which is what the 12 and the 26, these are the defaults. This is standard default. That's what it looks at. And then I also want the MACD length. And this is just referred to as the average. Now we can pick up on any one of these, but remember what I showed you on the chart. So what we want to plot, we want the value line MACD. That's the 1226 convergence divergence crossing above. It's an action crossing above the average line. And it's just like that to get sort of an interesting shorter term momentum indication. We're trying to amplify the signal using some of these techniques. So we're back to our 2-line here. Really easy, just under our plot. We're going to say we want to plot, though, on the scan, the average. So it crosses above the average. In other words, it breaks above that average like we just saw on the chart. And the thing is I want to do it for the last, let's do this. I'm going to do 2 days. We're going to do the daily first before we really ramp it up to a short term, where I think it can give insight that the daily just can't even see, we can't even view off the daily. Okay, so that's what we're getting right here. Now, the next thing we want to do is, of course, we can edit this and we can add in some more. I'm just going to do really easy. I'm going to add another condition in here, and all it's going to be is that 0 line. I want the crossover to happen above 0. It's got to be greater than, it's got to be less than 0. Less than 0 when it happens, or the last couple of bars. So back to our MACD, 2 lines right there. And instead of this case, we're going to say that it's the 0 line, okay? And we're just going to say that it's less than, let's see, less than a value, and that value is going to be 0. Oh, sorry, dang it. There we go. Value is going to be 0. And I'm going to do all this within the last 0 bars as well. Oh, excuse me, 1 bar. Yeah, we just want to, it's 2. Let's go 2. We did 2 on the other one. I want to give it a little bit of time so we can see it happening over the last couple of days if needs be. We're looking at daily right now. Okay. So do you guys see what we've done? Let's go ahead and run it, and we'll look at one and confirm it on the charts, and we'll just go from there. Okay. So here we go. Click OK. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and scan this right now. How many do we have over that time? Oh, no matching. over that time frame. It might have been the daily that I've been doing. I'm going to expand this out a little bit. I'm going to say, let's go up here, and I'm going to say back over the past 5 bars. Okay, and if this doesn't work, there's another way to get this going, but we'll get this started up and running right now. Nope. Okay, I've got to adjust one thing. This is perfect because I want to look at it right now. Let's do this. There's another way to do it. So what I'm going to do is, in fact, this is probably going to be the best way to do it. We're going to change one little item over here, and that is going to be, as we go into it, let's see, instead of that 0 line, we're going to do this. This is the issue. I'm going to go back to this. Actually, let me just kill this one. We'll start over with it, and we're going to go into our study. Now, think through this. So we got the MACD 2 line, and what we're going to say is we're going to look specifically at that value line. The value line itself, where is that value line over the past couple of days? Well, we know there's a crossover, and that value line has to be less than 0, right? It's got to be less than 0. The value line is 0. Yeah, that should work. Let me just do one thing here, because we're thinking through it. Oh, it's less than the 0 line, not 0, the 0 line, because we have the 0 line as part of it. There are a couple of ways. I've done this in the past, and this actually gets around an interesting bug. So look at this. If you do it this way, is less than, not a value. It's back to the study, and we're just going to call it exactly what it is, which is the 0 line. So much easier for the computer to register this and understand what we're saying without any confusion. It's less than the 0 line. Okay, so because we have a plot as we looked on the chart, and we're just saying value line itself as it's moving, or kind of like this, when we're looking at it, it's going to be below right there, the 0 line. We want that crossover to occur, right? Right over here, with the average happening below the 0 line. That's the key area right there. This will do it here for us. This will run it, and we'll get some results. In fact, let's also set this. You have to scroll down at the bottom to get it, though, within the last 2 bars as well. So again, this is on the daily chart. Here we go. So let's run it right now, and we'll see what we get. A lot more, right? Let's just choose one here right off the top, and we'll see what we get. Okay, let's put these in order. Yeah, okay. So let's do this. I'm going to come up top here, and we'll look at, well, what about BAC, BBY as well? There you go. Here's our 0 line, and here's the cross right there. And that it is happening below the 0 line. So you get the cross right below that level. Let's hit up, let's do another one, and then I'll show you guys really what we're aiming towards here, which is that intraday move. I think I saw BBY in there. I did. There you go. So you're getting a crossover here as well. We're going to add one additional component at the very end, but let me just show you a quick, super quick flip here. Go to the scan tab. If I want it shorter term intraday, all I need to do, I can either change this box here or just change the aggregation period to a 30-minute. So now we can actually see what's going on behind the scenes. It's going to be a totally different list of companies here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. AMT, got CAT as well. So here's AMT. Oh, let's do this. I'm going to move it. That's okay. You're not going to see it here. And notice we got a downtrend. We've got to adjust for that. If I click to my 30-minute, oh, I think it barely just flipped. Hang on. Let's see. CAT right here. Okay. It's it's really close, but it's not quite there. It might have flipped intra-bar or something, but I think we said, yeah, over the last couple of bars. It's very close. We're trying to get here, but interesting that oh, I've got extended hours. It defaults to that. That will change everything. Folks, did you see it right there? Extended hours. Take it out. what happens is it changes the whole format of the price data that's come through. So it was like this checked up on top first, and now it is at the bottom. Okay. All right. And excuse me. So now we can take it off. So let's do this. Let's go ahead now and we can run this and we'll see some different ones. Yeah. Okay. Look at this. So Ross Stores is one in green, actually. Ross Stores right now. We've got some others. Let's take a look at Ross Stores. There you go. There's your crossover right there. Okay. Now we're getting the crossover. So what is this detecting on a chart? We saw prices recently on the upside on, let's use Apple just as an example, because this happened previously with Apple. Okay. Below the zero line cross, you got a couple of those right on the zero line. What was really hard to detect on the daily chart, folks, that we can see on a 30-minute chart is something like a flag pattern. Okay. So intraday type moves that are very difficult in high momentum environments, but we're looking for kind of the bigger type pullback here. All right, let's look at a couple others as we go through this as well and just take a look and see what we've got. So yeah, we've got, oh, let's see, Alphabet's in there, or Google. Wait, was it in there? Maybe not. Okay. Yeah, and Ford. Oh, we're on a 60-minute. There we go. There we go. So it's below the zero line right there, and it's crossing back up. Now, one of the issues is this. We've been going sideways for a little bit. We did get one off the bottom here, and there was some pretty good movement, let's say on a Ford, and there was some pretty good movement right there. So those are kind of doing what we're looking for, trying to get us that maybe early signal in intraday as well. But you know, we've begun to come back down here. What we're going to do now to account for the trend, we want to make sure that the stock is trending to the upside. And this is Ford, and Ford's been a little bit flat over here. So if I were to come over here now trying to say, well, this is interesting, but what about a trend to the upside? How can we do that? And how can we do it on a daily chart or even intraday chart? Whichever one. Let's do it right now. If I go over here, if I put on a 50-day, where was the 50-day at relative to the chart? Looking at trends. Okay, it's holding actually the 50-day really well. In fact, it's above that level. But if I move this over to a 30-minute chart, because we're looking at that as well, what do we expect to see? Well, I don't think we might be, you know, it depends on what we're, you know, what moving average we're looking at or whatever the case might be, but we might have like one we want to look at over here too. Sorry, simple moving average. There we go. Simple moving average right here on a shorter term chart. Now I'm going to use kind of a longer term number here, but there, you know, a 200-day, but there you go. Right there. Where are prices relative to this level here too? So we're really trying to find stronger trends on both the upside and the down. Okay. So let's start off with this first. I'm going to go over here back to my scan tab to account for the trend. And all we need to do is literally click over here again. And we can add one more condition. And that condition is simply, you know, the stock, the current price is greater than, you know, a particular moving average. And the closing price is the price that we're looking at right now. On any time frame, is the price we're looking at now. So here's the close, and we're just going to say simply greater than a simple moving average over here. Simple moving average. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go with the 200 on some of these. And I'm just going to say, make sure it's within one bar. And why is that important? Because it has to be above, greater than the 200, folks, right now. It's got to be above it at this point. In other words, it's got to be in line with that trend. And I know how much we need the trend. I mean, the trends are important. Otherwise, we can really get caught into a sideways range. Now, This is a setup that we're looking at here. If I go in to edit that, you can see that this will automatically put it on a 30-minute time frame, though. Okay, there is a way to change that really easily in the condition wizard, but I was just going to show it to you. This is one way to do it right here. Now, if I wanted to create another one that's outside of this aggregation period, you saw the first way. I'm going to take that off because I really just want to put on another one for the daily. We're looking for the daily chart pullbacks, seeing it intraday. Here we go. Let's go down to our study, and I'm going to go here, and we're simply just going to keep this one at a day aggregation. Delete, start that condition wizard, folks. Close, greater than, and a simple moving average right there of 200 now. So we want it to be happening right now. Tab through it. You can see how fast we can get these in. It's already done. Click, click. So we have a couple different ones here, 2 separate aggregation periods. This up top right here is for our momentum. And this down here is our trend. Okay. And if we wanted to create a bearish one, we simply just invert everything. Instead of crosses above, it's going to be crosses below. Okay. On that condition wizard within the last 5 days. Instead of greater than over here, where it says greater than, it's going to be closes less than the 200 day. In other words, this would give us momentum to the downside and trend to the downside. Whereas on the other side, what we've got right now, it's a crosses above, it's greater than, it's to the upside. Okay, let's go ahead and click on this now, and we're gonna shorten this list down a little bit. We knocked it down to 20 out of those 500 companies. So there you go, above the 200-day moving average. Let's look at Intel as an example. Intel, sure, Intel's an example. As an example, you can see it, and we can build this on a daily chart. Can be useful here. We're looking for more signals, though, with higher volatility maybe going forward. But over here, right there, just getting above that 200. And maybe that 200 is a little bit long-term. Actually, I think we just broke above it. Remember we said in the last 2 days? So there you go. Just getting above the 200. You got 2 things going on here. We got a long-term trend change potential, breaking above the 200, and the momentum crossover right there below what? The 0 line. See that? A cool way to kind of combine indicators to perhaps trade the ThinkScript, using it really easy and so straightforward to use. But remember, we got this signal on what? The 30-minute time frame. And there it is right there. So the possibility of a crossover here, you are below that 0 line. If these scenarios kind of set up, what are some of the main things we're looking for on this trend? Now, this is a bigger pullback. Stocks above the 200 on the daily chart, but we're in a sideways channel, maybe some higher lows through here. It's very, very volatile. But if you start to do something that we haven't done yet, which is really take out a prior high and the crossover, well, that could be interesting. This one still, though, you might be getting a crossover here in the last 2 bars. But it may be, you could potentially wait on it as well, just to see what happens, because, maybe it'd break above a resistance point. It's been going sideways a little bit. There is that Ross Stores right there, though. Let's take a look at Ross Stores. Okay. Trading this a little bit. You can just flip back to your daily chart if you have them in line. There you go. Is somebody looking, as an example here, for an intraday entry off of a flag pattern? How do we see it? There's your 200. We're above it, greater than the 200. Getting the cross right in here. Is there an opportunity here? And can that 30-minute spot it for us? That's our daily. There's your 30-minute right there. Okay. Showing signs. So some traders might just say, hey, I'm waiting for it just to maybe break this prior high, give me some signs, whatever it is. That's what they could be looking for here. Okay. All right. Let's see. What else do we have over here? the one key thing though, folks, it's the trend. I mean, we had almost, I want to say 43 of these, but as soon as we said above the 200-day moving average, greater than, boom, we narrowed it down dramatically. Oh, Seagate's in there, huh? STX. So is Western Digital. These guys have been strong for a little bit. There you go. Right there. You're below these points, but remember, these are big moves. On the daily chart, it's very, very difficult to see some of this, but yeah, and you got some of this over here too. Here and here. It was above the zero line here. We're kind of looking for a little bit more of a pullback on the daily so that it does sink below the zero line. Getting above the zero line, if the MACD can do that, that can be a sign of even further momentum strength. So what you could be seeing is a stock to resume higher with the trend, but you're able to see it because we're looking at it more minutely on a shorter term time frame, and that helps to account for this volatility that you're going to see over here. Look how hard it is over here to try to get into those. I mean, with a pattern or with a signal, it can be tricky. I mean, this whole range over here was just one big you're already in type thing. But for traders that are saying, well, what about in, what about out? And by the way, what about the last thing we could say on this is what about the exit? What about the exit point? Since this is one particular area that I found a long time ago that's so important with when you're trading. If you start on a short-term time frame, you don't want to automatically revert to a higher time frame to get out. You want to use the same time frame to get out as well, because maybe if the entry is tied to a shorter term move, if it's a shorter term flag or whatever the case might be. So let's say over here, if this was your entry here, for example, and this is your exit here, the signal would be the exit there. So you were looking to take this move up here. Now, if you get it again, fine. But that's the kind of move that we're looking for over here as well. You got the crossover here, and you got the crossover here. And how did that relate to the stock itself? Somewhere over here, maybe entry, and somewhere over here, right at that top. Yeah, maybe intra bar on that big bar coming down. Okay. But yeah, folks, this is a good way to break down volatility, but seeing that momentum potential on a short-term basis. Let's see. Oh, Google. Yeah, let's take a look at it. Google or Alphabet right there. Wow, way below the zero line. Where was your crossover? It happened actually right there, and we are still above it on our 200 days. So set the charts up so you can see it. But look at that. You broke through the 200 right now, today, right? So it tested the 200 and could go higher. We are seeing some companies out there testing the 200 today as well. These could be interesting ones to watch. Let me give you those companies that have been testing the 200, okay? So AVGO tested the 200. Let's see. That's the 50, you guys. I'm looking at the 50 the whole time. That was the 50. There's the 200. Okay, we were looking at it on the chart. There you go. So AVGO, let me go back to Google. Sorry. Google, there you go. Oh, it's way down here. That was the 50, not the 200. We're past earnings. So a lot of volatility here. Really interesting to watch going forward, that volatility. The other ones I was going to tell you, though, AVGO, testing the 200, right at it. And by the way, this guy here, too, tied in with exactly the think script we're talking about, not only to the 200, there's your big 300 number, but that's a major gap you could be filling here. What's interesting is if it bounces, but it's also interesting if it fades, if it breaks lower too, because that's a kind of a technically strong area. Some others that we have testing the 200 today are Meta. You know these names. We just did go below it, at least yesterday, right? And we also have Amazon. Some of the Mag 7s in there. Look at that, right at it. How did Amazon do? Well, I'm sure it didn't do too great because it did dip. Wait, it's after hours. It still dipped. Wow, that's interesting. So we'll have to see what's going on there. I'm not seeing, yeah, it says after hours today. Yeah, so I guess we'll find out fairly soon on that. But there you go. There are a couple just above the 200. You'll find that though as you go through these, you guys. But a very interesting way to spot these things short term. FCX, copper and gold have also been moving. There you go, clearly above the 200, but is in one of those areas where it could go up or not. There you go. Oh yeah, look right here. See, it's just, see how nice that script is? Folks, you'd have to scan through so many of these on a 30-minute chart to find that 20 out of the 500 stocks. And you'd have to go through quick because it's going to change over the next 2 bars that we're looking at very, very, very quickly. You got a couple in there. But again, these were potential entry points in that upward trend. Let me highlight some of those right there. And you just see what, take a look at the charts afterwards. Identifying a strong trend. Maybe you've already identified it, but where is your entry? That zero line had quite a few actually on FCX. All right, let's see. Yeah, John, let's see. Does it always work? No, I mean, it's just designed to help kind of try to spot those for you on the chart so you can see what's happening intraday that we might not otherwise see with, boom, something like this, where it's just so choppy. Look at the gapping up and down. I mean, what was developing behind the scenes here? And were we getting signals, momentum signals, in this case, the MACD below that zero line, that crossover occurring while we're still above the 200-day. So strong daily chart in terms of the 200 or whatever number we want to choose. And then, of course, the follow through to with momentum over that time frame. But folks, that was it, what we hit over here as we set this up. Let's see. Austin says, Mike, do you have to change the 2-line value to account for a shorter time period? You could do that. You could change that value to get quicker. Sure, Austin, that's an interesting point. You could do it if you wanted to. I just stuck with the default, the 1226 default on the MACD. But you could, that's right. You could adjust those lines, and you would adjust them right over here. One of the things I've noticed is if I'm consistent with what I'm using with the MACD, then I always kind of know, I have a general idea what that MACD is going to do, and then I just change the duration, the time frames. So that kind of helps me, it sort of grounds me knowing what I'm looking at with the MACD, what it's going to do over that time frame and what it's doing, and then I just change that. But you could change it. In fact, right over here, if we just edit this, right there, the fast length and the slow length, you could definitely do that. I've just always done this. There is another one out there too that's quite common, but that is the other one I'm using. Oh yeah, so on this one here, remember, think scripts aren't guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy. This one I'm just going to pretty much build, I've just build it. But let's see. Yep. And there you go. So timeliness, sorry, not guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy, but there you have it right there, folks. I really wanted you to, in this class, just go through the process of building it too, but so you can see it, get familiar with it, because we're going to be tapping into those too as we look for different market conditions and using ThinkScript to trade them as well. So on that note, everybody, it's been great being with you. A lot of fun using a lot of the tools that we've got here. We did discuss some of the newer updates to the platform as well. But with that, I wish you all a great day. And thank you so much, Connie, for your help in the chat. I do not think there was a survey, folks, but if you're getting value out of this content, we're going to keep it flowing. But just smash that like button. It lets me know that it was valuable for you too. And always, be sure to subscribe to the Trader Talks channel. Many of you are, but just in case you're not, Trader Talks. And love to have you on board. On that note, till next time, everybody, have a good day.